Welcome to Glowing Success. My name is Heidi and I am your host. This podcast is for beauty entrepreneurs. Join me weekly as we dive into the beauty industry's ins and outs, from business strategies, top-selling services, and taboo topics. I will be interviewing industry leaders with empowering stories and game-changing insights. Let's illuminate your path to success together. Let's jump into this next episode. I am so excited for this interview. Today, I will be talking with Dr. Tivy, and we will be speaking about everything self-care and chiropractic self-care. So if you're like me, anybody in the beauty industry, actually, we all need self-care. We all need to work on our bodies because we use our bodies so much with every single client. We probably put our bodies in different positions that we shouldn't over time. So this is really, really good information about how to take care of yourself and from a chiropractic perspective. So stay tuned. Welcome back to Glowing Success. I'm so excited. I have Dr. Brianna Tivy here today. She is my personal chiropractor, and we are going to be speaking about anything and everything when it comes to self-care, and specifically getting self-care done for service providers and why it's so important. But Dr. Tivy, thank you for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yay! I love this. I've been wanting to talk about this for a while because I do feel like self-care is kind of one of those things that as service providers, and you're a service provider as well, like we tend to forget about, we tend to, push under the rug, but we preach about it so much to our clients. So I've known Dr. Tivy for quite a while, but the listeners maybe want to get to know you a little bit. So if you can go over just a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So I was born and raised in Minnesota, but went to school far away and ended up coming back because I do love it here. My undergraduate degree was actually in marketing and communications, which seems like a 180 from where I am now. But I was just really unfulfilled and really unhappy in that field. And that affects the entire rest of your life. And so after some self-reflection, I decided that I wanted to head in the direction of being able to take care of other people. And I really felt like I had had positive experiences with chiropractic, but also that a lot of people are looking for a more proactive approach to healthcare rather than a reactive approach. And I really like the problem solving and the patient interaction side of chiropractic. So I just made a hard left turn and decided to go to chiropractic school. So I've been in practice now for about 14 years, and in a really exciting twist of events, ended up purchasing my practice in March. So I'm, heading into my first year of business ownership as well.
Yeah, I'm so proud of you, and it's so exciting to see it. It's kind of cool to feel that wow, okay, I've been doing this for a long time, but now I can take it to another level.
Definitely.
I love how you shared a little bit about how your background's a little different, because I feel like a lot of people can relate to that, especially in the service industry. Some of us go to school for something else, and then we end up kind of finding our passion along the way through that route. I'm the same way. I went to full cosmetology school, found out that I just really liked aesthetics through that process, and obviously went that route specifically. So I always like to tell the story to some of my other service providing friends when they're not taking their self-care seriously or falling off the wagon or getting back on, which I can totally tell you guys about my story too. But one of the stories I give is when I got torticollis. I woke up one morning. Now, mind you, this was back in, I want to say it was back in 2012, maybe early 2013, and I just wasn't taking care of myself. And at this time, I was also mobile with my business, so I was carrying a massage table on my right shoulder, which she can talk about too. But and I just wasn't just wasn't taking care of myself, and just really working a lot. I was working 7 days a week at that time. And I woke up one morning and I couldn't move my whole neck. And I literally couldn't really move my body because, you don't realize how much of your body is reliant on each other, right?
Absolutely.
And so, it freaked me out, of course. And it was 6 or 7 in the morning. I had a full day of clients that day. At that time, because I didn't know you at that time, but at that time I was forced to kind of call around to different chiropractors, and And, some were available that early and had openings where they could see me right away. And I did find a guy, and he basically was like, I can't do anything for you. You have to get on muscle relaxers. Like, there's no way, and who knows if that was the right direction or not. But but anyway, it was a crazy day. I had to cancel my clients. I had to cancel my clients for a couple of days after that just to like kind of get myself back to normal.
Yeah.
And there was probably some time after that where I just really didn't consider what I was doing to my body every day as something. And I feel like as a service provider, we don't realize like our body mechanics. We don't realize, but the daily progression of your body mechanics.
Absolutely.
So maybe if you can talk a little bit about that, of how like, even if we don't feel like we're doing something bad to our bodies.
Well, first of all, I want to touch on something that you said that I think is extremely important for all of us in the service industry. And that's that you said I had to take a couple days off. Yeah. Our bodies is how we make our ends meet and how we make a living. And so if we're not taking care of our tools, we are in the weeds. Yeah. So we really have to look at taking care of our tools, which is our body, as a really, really critical component to our business. Yeah. But in talking about how long something can be going on before it actually becomes a problem, our bodies are super, super smart and highly adaptable, because if you looked at a sort of a scale of 0 function up to 100% function, if we were in pain every time we just dipped below 100, if we were at 95 or 90, we would be in pain all the time. And our bodies want to adapt and take care of ourselves. And so they will do that as long as possible. Yeah. So by the time pain pops up, what that means is that your body is at a point where it can no longer manage itself without intervention, without the potential of causing damage. Yeah. So pain is our last indicator. I like to tell people it's like the oil light in your car. It doesn't come on until you have to do something.
Which is crazy to think about, because, so obviously that will lead probably into my next question of like, is it something where people need to be doing something daily, monthly, bi-weekly? I mean, sure, this is different for every person and different for everything. But like, I think for me, so I do lash extensions quite a bit. So for me, I don't travel anymore, so I don't necessarily have to worry about carrying something, heavy on my shoulder other than my purse to work. But now I stretch my hands a lot because I've noticed like my hands will cramp up if I do too many in a row. I also do a lot of neck stretches because I've noticed, obviously, looking down all day, I'm definitely having some of that happen. I mean, you've given me some home care tools. You've given me some home care advice of things I should do to strengthen muscles and so forth. But, it's interesting because I do think like everybody in the service industry is going to have something. Yes. You can't avoid it. So you can have the best body mechanics. You could really be thinking you're doing the proper stretches after every client and so forth. But the truth and reality is, like you said earlier, we're using our bodies to perform the tasks that we need to perform. And so, what would be your suggestion? Obviously, if somebody's just like, I haven't been to the chiropractor, I haven't been doing massage, I don't work out, maybe like.
So I think that's a sort of multi-layered question. Yeah. First of all, if you look at for example, with you doing lash extensions, it's not just your hands, but I've had enough services from you that I know that you're like curled up in a ball and leaning forward all day, which is, over time really hard on our backs, necks, headaches certainly become an issue with that. Yep. I can't tell you the number of hairstylists I have who have major shoulder, neck, upper back, and that's because their arms are up in the air so much. So I guess my first thing would be to look at any sort of alterations you can make in your workspace. So for example, I always like my hairstylist to try to drop their chair down so that their shoulders aren't in their ears when they're working. For you, maybe changing the position of where your seat is so you're not leaning forward so much. So, and that applies to people who are at desks too. Like just looking at your work environment, your workstation to try to counteract some of that. But doing mobility work, I think, is hugely important. Just getting up between clients, doing some stretching, just moving around. It doesn't have to be a big, complicated routine, but just getting some mobility back into those joints. Yeah. And then certainly in terms of, like chiropractic care, massage, that kind of thing, I would love for everybody to come in before they're in pain and start a maintenance routine. But unfortunately, that's not typically the way that we work in the United States. Right. So a lot of times, if you are coming in with a specific issue to start, there might be a more active period care to begin with because we're sort of digging you out of a hole.
Yeah.
But if you can just get on some sort of maintenance schedule, like whether it's once or twice a month, to come in and just make sure that we're keeping all of those joints moving, because your nervous system that controls everything is housed within these joints.
And that's so true too. Like, you know, I notice like, so you guys will, I'll tell you, I am not very good about taking care of myself, just like every other service provider. So I'm not perfect here, but like I will say, like, as long as I can put it on my calendar, I'm pretty good about it, and I'll stick to it generally. And so that's maybe one suggestion if you're having a really hard time sticking to some self-care yourself, like just put it on the calendar, and then you have to stick to it almost. Like you're going to schedule around it. You're you know, just like a client, right?
And again, prioritizing it, because if your body doesn't work, you cannot perform your job.
The other thing I was going to mention is like when my body doesn't feel right. So like I noticed I was getting headaches recently, and I was like, man, I've been getting a lot of headaches, and they've been really bad, and they were almost like migraines, and they were on like one side of my head, and it was happening all the time, and it's really debilitating because like I can't do anything when I have these headaches. I'm not myself. But I will say your health also plays a huge role in this too. So like I was also getting sick a little bit more, and finding that my immune system was kind of compromised a little bit more. So it's so much more than just like having your muscles and bones work together. It's so much more than just like, okay, I feel this pain. Like it's so much like about like the whole body experience. Like your sickness plays a huge role in that. Like if you're not taking care of something in your body, like I feel like your body kind of
So if I can touch on that really quick, like when we are having these signals of pain in our body, or when we have dysfunction in our joints, so like when your spine's not moving well, when your joints aren't moving well, one of the ways that your body deals with that is to launch the stress response. Well, when you're in the middle of a stress response, when your body is in that fight or flight, one of the prime things or resources in your body that's ignored is your immune system. So when you have that level of dysfunction, when you're in a chronic fight or flight or stress response, you are going to be more likely to get sick because your immune system's not considered critical at that point.
Because it's taking care of something else in your body. It's paying attention to that other part. And you know, like you were saying earlier, our bodies are actually very smart. They're very in tune. They're very like, I'm going to try my best to take care of itself. You know, it's like, you know, but we get in the way. And so in so many ways. But you know, I think so that's something where just hop on some self-care, people. Like if you're going to take one thing from this interview is like just do something for yourself.
Absolutely.
I personally love my chiropractic appointments because I feel so much better. I always laugh because I get a response. So every time she does something, it doesn't matter where in my body she's doing it. Most of the time it's upper body, but like I will immediately start to like sweat and get hot, and like that blood rushes in that area, and I'm like, oh my gosh, my body's talking. But then an hour after the appointment, so I will say like for probably like 15 minutes or so after the appointment, I don't necessarily feel like refreshed. I feel a little bit more awake. I feel like my blood's like doing stuff. I feel like my body's talking to itself. But I will say an hour after that, I feel amazing. And I'm like, okay, this is really good. And then like, obviously my headaches have gone away. So like, that's huge for me because I've never really suffered from headaches in my life. And I know some people like that can be, you know, more chronic and things like that. But like, that's not been a problem for me unless I'm like hungry or getting sick, right? So like when I started getting regular headaches this last couple of years, like I was like, there's something going on here. And then obviously like, so I think if you haven't been to the chiropractor before, and every chiropractor maybe is a little different, maybe you can touch on this, but generally they'll, like your first appointment, they'll do x-rays and stuff with you just to see kind of what's going on and where things are kind of crazy. And it's crazy to find out the different things about your body. Like I knew I had my right shoulder issues just because I could feel that. Like I can always feel muscularly wise, like I can always feel that shoulder was different. I didn't know how messed up my neck was at the time, and we'll go into that. And I also didn't know my right hip was a little bit different. So like there's always like a little bit of change in your body over time, or you could be born like that. I've been in a lot of car accidents in my life, so like that didn't probably help. But I will say like it is kind of interesting, and if I find the x-rays really interesting, and so like for me I was like, oh my gosh, I was like fascinated by that. So if you guys are also fascinated by x-rays, go get a chiropractic appointment. It's so cool. Like, but it's also a little bit like sad and a little bit scary. So like maybe talk on that, like you know, how when people come in and like maybe they're finding new information about their bodies, like, you know, how can we kind of navigate that?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first of all, you know, every chiropractor is different.
Yeah.
So your experience can be different from one to the other. But I really like to spend my first 2 appointments on a lot of education because I can throw all of this information at you. And like you said, it can be scary to find out, you know, what's happening with your body. But I try to be really clear about, you have this and this is how it might be affecting you. But what I think is great is it's information because now you can start to make decisions accordingly to take care of yourself appropriately. And if we know this information now while you're in your 20s or 30s or 40s or whatever, then you're not coming in your 60s and 70s and you're in such a hole at that point that it's harder to correct. So I think information on the front end is the most powerful thing that we can have to be proactive in the way that we are taking care of ourselves. And I do just I thought about something that I've never thought about before when you were talking about your headaches. But I think it's actually for service providers really, really important. When you're talking about having headaches, it's one thing to have a little bit of pain, but when you start having headaches or you're not feeling good or even with pain, I don't know about you, but it affects my mood.
Oh, for sure.
Personally, as a consumer of, you know, different services and whatever, my relationship with the provider or my experience with the provider and their personality can be the difference in whether or not I go back to that person. And if I feel like garbage, I'm not presenting my best self to my patients and you're not presenting your best self to your client. So that can be the difference between repeat business and people coming back to you or not.
Yes, I agree. And, you know, we always are kind of in this industry like, well, if you're having a bad day, you got to fake it. But it's like sometimes you just can't.
Correct.
Sometimes you can't push that pain away. Sometimes you've been miserable for 5 days in a row or you haven't gotten a lot of sleep. So I agree with you. Like self-care is got such a ripple effect in all parts of our life, right? So like not only our work life, but our home life too. Like, you know, I'm sure my husband was picking up a lot of my slack at home, right? Because those headaches, like when I get them, I couldn't walk the dog. I'm not going to be able to like be as moving around the house as much as I could, you know, usually am. So I think it does have that ripple effect. If somebody hasn't been to a chiropractic appointment, kind of walk them through, like you kind of went through like maybe your first 2 appointments, what they look like, but kind of maybe walk through like what an appointment looks like for people. Because I know like for me, I was surprised about like how short they are, which is not a bad thing. It's
but that is
really
surprising for people.
So, and then not necessarily maybe true for your first couple, but maybe walk them through that.
Well, and again, I want to say I can't guarantee how any other practitioner does, you know, their program, but on a first visit with my patients, I like to sit down and find out what's going on with them and how it's affecting them. Like, how is what you're dealing with affecting the things that are most important to you? And then what I like to do is a physical exam, and that's going to tell me from a functional standpoint, how is your body moving, working, functioning, communicating with itself, really? So that's gathering data on function. And then I do like to take x-rays, and I'm really looking for 3 things with x-rays. I'm looking to see, were you born with anything funny that we should know about? Do you have anything left over from previous accident or injury? And people think that that needs to be a dramatic event, but that could even be like you fell on your butt sledding when you were 10, right? All of these things can have residual effects. Or do you have any damage or degeneration that we should be aware of? Because I need all of that information in the style that I'm going to adjust you, et cetera. So that's typically the first visit, and I do usually adjust somebody at their first visit. And then I have you come back for a second, little bit longer visit, which is the report of findings. And at the report of findings, I go through all of your x-rays with you to show you anything that I've found. I go through your exam findings, and then I just really lay out what I think is the most appropriate treatment plan for you. Moving forward after that, yes, our appointment times are really about 10 minutes long because at the end of the day, that's how long it takes me to adjust you. And that's actually also includes time for me to do some muscle work, so some soft tissue work, a little bit of stretching, some of the ancillary things that help, in my opinion, the adjustment go a little bit smoother and hold a little bit longer. Yeah.
I notice, like, for me anyway, like, every once in a while, so like if I'm not pairing my chiropractic and massage kind of close together, maybe like my muscle tissue and my fascia tends to be a little bit tighter in my right shoulder. So I've noticed you've had to use some tools on me to kind of open that up and maybe shift things around or like get it so you can move things around. And it's kind of crazy, but like I love that you have all those tools readily available to you, because then you're able to like do what you need to do because you still want to make sure you adjust that area. So if you're kind of worried like, well, I tend to have a really tight fascia or I tend to, have this, that, and the other, really talk to your provider about it. Like, or if you have a lot of pain that day, like if you're like, I am in a lot of pain today, like bring that up to them. Like, and a good provider should be asking you questions when you come in. They should be, kind of checking in with you even before they touch your body. The other thing I like to mention to people is like, you're fully clothed.
Yes. That's actually a great point.
And so that if nobody's been in before, just know that like, maybe wear some clothing that you're comfortable moving around in. You're not like doing like yoga poses, but I will say like, you want to move a little bit more, but you're fully clothed during this whole appointment as well. So you don't necessarily need to come, expecting that.
I do also want to mention whether you have been to a chiropractor and maybe had a not great experience or you've never been before. I am a firm believer that one size does not fit all with chiropractic. And so in regard to technique, if what we do the first time is not the right thing or you're not super comfortable with it, we can always switch the way that we're doing things. So there's plenty of tools in the toolbox to do things differently, and we just need to find the right mix for you. But I just like people to know that it is not, this is how we do it and that's it.
Yeah, because there is some videos online that
my God.
are a little scary, right?
Yeah.
And specifically, I think the scarier videos are always the neck adjustment videos, because those ones. But I will tell you, people, if you've never been, it's also, that's probably the best feeling part of the chiropractic, for me anyway. And that's just because I have a lot of upper body stuff. But like, I think like, but the more you trust your provider, where they walk you through things, they'll have you relax, they'll bring you through some breaths, but I will say, like, not every provider out there is, like you said, it's not the same. They're always going to have a little bit different techniques, and they can switch those up, like she was saying, if something's not working for you, if you're not comfortable with it. Man, we've touched on a lot of things. I think self-care is just so important, you guys. Like, and it's something that I am continuously learning about myself and trying to get better about. So I do think it's like not one of those things where you're ever going to feel perfect with it. But I do feel like as long as you're making an effort every month.
Progress, not perfection.
Yeah, because like, honestly, like, this is how we do our jobs, and this is like how we perform our work is through our bodies. And like she was saying, like, heaven forbid, like, you didn't take care of your body and then you couldn't work, right? Or like, we're not able to perform, or we get injuries that are, are really detrimental. So these are just some of the things that you can do. I think for me, chiropractic has really helped me alongside massage. And your massage doesn't necessarily have to be, really deep tissue and really sports, related type massage. It can be really relaxation massage too, just as long as you're moving those muscles a little bit, just as long as you're, opening up that fascia, just as long as you're moving that blood, how you were saying too, of like in between services. Like, I tend to stretch my hands a lot in between services just because they give me the most problems. But I will say, like, if you're not in a good habit of moving around or stretching between clients, or even once a day, let's say, because I know a lot of times service providers were back to back, especially this time of year, which you, I shouldn't say that. We are recording this in December. So I don't think this episode will come out in December, but this time of year I'm saying that. And it's just crazy to me of like, how simple things sometimes really add up. So like, you have also given me some home stuff, and I will say, like, I think most providers, that's pretty normal to give some kind of home care of like, hey, do these stretches, or like these are the tools you can try, and obviously it's just like anything else, like the more you do it and you can be consistent with it, probably the better your results will be in clinic.
For sure.
And maybe your results will be better, for yourself feeling wise, but it can be also a little challenging to get into. Like, you gave me this block and I have to kind of put my head on it, and I always forget to put it out. So I've noticed that if I put it out and it's just part of like my house, I will look at it and I will pay attention to it more. Whereas if I put it away somewhere because I'm like, well, I don't want to have this weird gray block out, then I don't even think about it.
It's very much like drinking water. I tell people, have a water bottle on your desk, because if it's there, you'll drink it. And if it's not, you won't. And to your point about the block too, for service providers, whether it's hairstylists or estheticians or whatever, my single favorite tool for just a quick little fix between clients or at the end of your day is a foam roller. Because if you can just drop on the floor for under a minute and roll out that back a little bit, reset that posture, get some movement into those joints. I think for those of you who spend so much time in that forward posture, that is such a great tool for you to have. So whether it's in your back break room or whatever, that's a really, really easy thing that you can use throughout the day. way.
Yeah. The other thing I think I kind of think about that when chiropractic started making me pay attention to other things was like maybe even how you do your workouts too. So like for me specifically, like one of the things I need to focus on is strengthening my core. I think everybody needs to strengthen their core, so it's not necessarily just 100%. Because, but I do think like you said, since I'm in always like a forward kind of position, my back obviously takes a lot of my brunt force or a lot of my strengthening or a lot of my strain. So obviously having a core that's like, you know, a little bit more engaged and can take some of that for your back is important. So like, you know, maybe even think about that when you guys are going and maybe starting to do your chiropractic journey and your self-care journey. Think about how things kind of play off of each other too. Like, you know, if you're doing a workout that's just very basic, let's say, and you're just getting into that, that's fine. Moving your body is better than not. But I will say, like, if you can kind of start thinking about ways that you can make your workout, make your chiropractic, make your massage, like all work together synergistically, like, I think it'll just give you better results. Like, for me, sometimes it'll be like, okay, I need to strengthen my shoulders, I need to strengthen my core, and maybe do some forearm workouts, maybe do some wrist, you know, stuff like that, just because I use those things so much.
Yeah.
So like maybe more than maybe leg day and more than, you know what I'm saying? So like maybe I need to pay attention to that a little bit more than if I was doing something else. So I have thought about that. And obviously, like, I don't know, as you get older, like your workouts just don't work the same anymore. So you also have to switch up for that reason. Like, I'm like, okay, that doesn't work anymore. Like you can't just do 100% cardio, you know? But it's also good to think about for like the style of work that you perform. Like hairstylists, it's really good probably to engage a lot of muscles in your upper body. I mean,
well, and I just think strength training in general, and particularly for women as they age, is so critical. So yeah, I think that's a great point.
Great point. Yeah. Okay. So we talked about self-care. We've brought up many things that how chiropractic self-care can really help a service provider. Any last suggestions? Any last tips that you would give?
I just think at the end of the day, you know, motion is lotion. And so the more you can move your body, the better. And so even if that's just taking a quick stroll around the building between clients, just doing some quick stretches, the more we move, the better we're going to be, particularly when you're stuck in these static positions for hour-long appointments at a time. So just movement. I think the second we stop moving, we get really old and really sick really fast.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. When I used to do massage, I used to tell people all the time, your muscles are like taffy. You got to warm them up.
Absolutely.
You got to move them around. You got to flex them out. Just in case anybody wants to follow you, just in case anybody wants to come to you for an appointment, where can they find you?
So on Instagram, it's Thrive Chiro MN. And then we are located in Minnetonka, right off of 494 and Highway 7, right by the general store. And you can either call the clinic to book a new patient appointment, and that's 952-746-5612, or you can visit our website and book a new patient appointment on that website, and that's thrivechiromn.com. And for anyone who comes in from this podcast, we would do a new patient special for you, and that would be your first consult, exam, x-rays, and adjustment, all for $69. So,
well, thanks, ladies. That's awesome. Well, thank you for being on today.
Oh, it's such a pleasure.
I think people have so much good information. All right, people, hopefully you are taking care of your bodies, taking your self-care seriously, and thanks again.
Have a good one.
I hope you liked that episode and found something useful or a tip that you can use immediately. If you are wanting more marketing tips, business tips, or anything like that, I have a lot of resources on my website. So I have PDFs that you can download for free. So look in your show notes. There should be a link in the show notes that you can click on, and it'll take you right to my coaching website. And thanks for listening.